Cameras were created to capture moments, but sometimes they record more than we expect, and real anomalies can hide among ordinary footage anomalies whose reality is hard to believe.
La puta que te parió.
Mom? Briscoe.
In this video, I present a selection of the most terrifying encounters with paranormal beings ever captured on camera. A man returned home from vacation and decided to check the recordings from his surveillance camera. What he saw shocked him so much that he re-watched the video several times, unable to believe his eyes. The footage shows that a terrifying entity appeared in his house. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary girl, but when she began climbing the stairs, it became clear that this was something else. The entity crawled up the steps at a speed no human could manage. The man did not know this girl, and she definitely could not have entered the house without a key. Everything looked like a scene from a horror film, so after this incident, he seriously considered selling the house. A hospital patient woke up in the middle of the night because of strange sounds in the corridor. At first, he heard muffled laughter and someone talking. Thinking they were just nurses, he looked out of his room. There really were figures in medical uniforms standing in the corridor, but then he noticed something was wrong. The nurses were speaking in strange voices. These were not words, but frightening sounds. Yet the most terrifying detail was something else. The nurses had no heads. The patient realized he had encountered something paranormal and decided that he definitely should not interfere with them. He quietly closed the door to his room and did not leave until morning. A man went to explore a remote area together with his friend. They wanted to observe deer and brought a camera with them. At one point, they heard someone carefully making their way through the trees. The friends turned on the camera and began watching, expecting to see a deer, but it was not an animal. A girl in a blue dress came out from behind the trees. They were very surprised because the place was deserted and meeting anyone there seemed impossible. At that moment, they did not yet suspect that this was not an ordinary person. The girl was far away, but a few seconds later she suddenly appeared just a few meters from the friends and rushed toward them. When the stranger had almost reached them, she suddenly appeared in a completely different place again, and then vanished altogether. To this day, the friends cannot understand who she was: a ghost, a forest spirit, or some other paranormal entity. But they are certain of one thing: she definitely could not have been an ordinary girl. At the beginning of 2025, a video appeared online and quickly went viral. The footage shows a man calmly walking down a corridor toward the exit. Suddenly, a shadow appears in front of him and attacks him with frightening speed. The man falls, and the mysterious entity grabs his legs and drags him onto the stairs. One user left a comment under the video that added an even darker shade to the story. He claimed that the footage showed his colleague, who disappeared without a trace that day. There is no proof of this, but if it is true, the video becomes not just a frightening recording, but evidence of a mystical disappearance. This footage was recorded by a surveillance camera in an ordinary office. In it, two colleagues are calmly having a conversation. It seems that nothing strange is happening, but if you look closely at the background, a dark figure appears behind one of the men. Its outline resembles a child, but it looks completely immaterial. Interestingly, neither of the colleagues noticed the entity's presence. The incident became known by chance when the guard reviewed the recording. When he showed it to other office employees, their opinions were divided. Some insisted it was a camera glitch, while others suggested it was the ghost of a child. A woman was returning home late at night along a quiet, deserted street. Suddenly, she was overcome by the feeling that someone was watching her. She turned around several times, but there were no pedestrians or cars nearby. Still, the feeling of another presence did not disappear. When the woman was already near her home, she turned around again, and this time she saw a dark figure in the distance. Its outline resembled a man, but the silhouette was strangely blurred. A few seconds later, the shadow disappeared, and the woman never understood what kind of entity had been watching her that night. A man went to explore an abandoned building. When he entered one of the large rooms, a silhouette flashed ahead. At first, he thought it was some person, but later, it turned out not to be so. When he shone his flashlight forward, a girl emerged from the darkness. Her hair hung down and almost completely covered her face, while her movements were slow. She looked more like a zombie from films than a human being. The terrifying creature gradually approached, so the explorer ran away. Despite his intense fear, he decided to return there the next night with friends. They searched the entire building, but never encountered the zombie girl again. Friends were returning home from a trip by car. They decided to turn off the main road onto a rural one to rest for a while. At one point, one of the friends noticed a figure by the roadside. It stood motionless and almost completely blended into the surroundings. The friends immediately understood that they had encountered something mystical, because it was neither human nor animal. A few seconds later, the figure disappeared. To this day, the friends cannot understand what or whom they met that night. A man heard strange sounds at night but did not pay attention to them because he really did not want to get out of bed. In the morning, he decided to watch the surveillance camera recording to understand what had happened. In the video, he saw a terrifying creature that had entered his house. Its skin was pale, its body was thin, and its arms and legs were unnaturally long. It moved on all fours around the bed where the man was sleeping, but for an unknown reason, it decided not to attack him. After some time, the monster simply left the house. After the video was published online, many recognized the creature as a skinwalker. In Navajo mythology, a skinwalker is a sorcerer or witch capable of turning into animals or taking the appearance of other people. In modern culture, the image has changed. According to current urban legends, a skinwalker is a terrifying, lanky creature that can attack people or send illnesses upon them. A man was home alone when he heard some noise on the porch. At first, he thought it was a cat or that the wind had knocked something over, but the sound repeated. He turned on the porch light and opened the door. There he saw a white, human-like figure making strange movements. The man was very frightened, but decided to scare the monster away. When he began shouting at the creature, it slowly turned around and left, dissolving into the night. Interestingly, as it turned out later, his neighbors had also seen this mystical creature on their properties. Who it was and why it visited people's homes remains a mystery. The author of this video shared a terrifying story on social media. According to him, almost every night a dark figure appeared in the corner of his room. It did not move, but simply stood there, as if watching him. The most frightening part of the story was that as soon as the homeowner turned on the light, the shadow immediately disappeared. To confirm his words, the man filmed this anomaly and then published the video online. Users proposed many versions, including one interesting explanation. According to it, the video showed a shadow person. Shadow people are popular characters in modern urban mythology and paranormal stories. In some legends, they are spirits or ghosts. In others, they are beings from a parallel dimension. One day, after returning home, a woman noticed something strange in the parking lot. A shadow appeared behind her car. It looked as if it were being cast by a person, but there was no one nearby. The woman even walked around her car from all sides, but found no one. Then she decided that she had simply imagined it. However, the next day, the story repeated itself and began happening daily. The woman decided to film every time she appeared in the parking lot and soon collected a whole set of videos with the mysterious shadow. The footage showed a dark silhouette appearing out of nowhere, remaining for a few seconds and then disappearing as if it had never existed. After the videos were published online, many viewers suggested that it was a guardian angel protecting the woman every day. This video was filmed in August of 2023. A resident of Florida gave his friend a ride home. When they got out of the car, they saw a girl in a ballerina costume standing on the sidewalk. The friends immediately understood that she was not human because her body glowed from within and her pose was too unnatural. The most terrifying thing was that the girl had no face, as if she were a porcelain doll whose eyes, nose, and mouth had been forgotten. As soon as the ballerina moved toward the friends, they became very frightened, but after a few seconds, she suddenly turned around and disappeared around the corner of the house. The friends followed her, but found neither the ballerina nor her traces. The mystery of this story remained unsolved. A blogger from Florida was live streaming on a social network. At one point, he heard rustling sounds in his garden and told viewers that he would go check who was there. Without ending the stream, he approached the front door, and when he opened it, a dark figure appeared in the frame. It raced across the garden at incredible speed, and it was definitely neither a person nor an animal. Viewers in the comments demanded that the blogger return inside the house because it was a ghost. He followed his subscribers' advice and stayed in his bedroom until morning. A man was returning home late at night. When he approached his house, he looked at the window and stopped because he saw the silhouette of a stranger staring straight at him. This frightened him badly because he lived alone. Despite his fear, the man decided to go inside and check what was happening. Once inside, he carefully searched all the rooms, checked the closets, and even looked under the bed, but there was no one there. The man had already begun to think he had imagined everything, but then he remembered that when he saw the figure in the window, he had recorded a short video on his phone. After watching the recording, he realized that the silhouette was real, but he never learned who it was. A sports complex guard heard strange sounds from the locker rooms, and the doors were opening and closing by themselves. At first, the guard thought it was a draft and decided to test his hypothesis. He went downstairs, and when he entered one of the locker rooms, a shadow resembling a person flashed through the room. It moved with frightening speed, then passed through the wall and disappeared as if it had never been there. After that night, the guard asked to be transferred to a daytime post because he is certain that he encountered a mystical entity. This strange incident was captured by a surveillance camera at an industrial site. The footage shows a parked car whose headlights flash from time to time. Two men are standing next to the car. Everything looks completely ordinary until the driver approaches the vehicle. At the moment he comes closer, the two men simply disappear. Perhaps they only vanished from view because it happened when the headlights turned off. In the darkness, the people became invisible to the camera. However, the driver of the car claims that the men really disappeared, as if dissolving into the air. A man decided to look at the house of his uncle, who had died 3 years earlier, using a street view service. He was not looking for anything special. He simply wanted to see the familiar place and remember his childhood. To his surprise, he suddenly saw someone's silhouette in the window. He could not believe his eyes, because the house had been empty since his uncle's death. The man called his cousin, told him what he had seen, and sent him the image. His cousin was shocked because he recognized his father in the silhouette. Perhaps his spirit was still in the house, unwilling to leave the place where his life had passed. They discussed for a long time whether they should go there in person, but in the end, they never dared. A man was simply filming his apartment with a camera. Everything was calm, but when he turned the camera, something appeared from behind a half-open door. It looked like a dark spot, but on closer inspection, eyes, a nose, and a mouth can be seen. That means it was someone's head. The author of the video had no suspicion of anyone's presence and saw this terrifying entity only while watching the recording. He is certain that he was completely alone at home at that moment, so he believes the camera captured a paranormal entity. An explorer of abandoned buildings decided to test his nerves and went to a hospital that had been closed for more than 5 years. He had heard a lot about paranormal phenomena often being observed in such places, but until then he had been skeptical of those stories. That night, however, his opinion changed. Walking along a long, dim corridor, he suddenly noticed a figure flash at the far end. It was a middle-aged woman in a nurse's uniform, but there could be no patients or staff in the abandoned building. Then he understood that it was a ghost. He became very frightened and hurried to leave the place. This terrifying footage appeared online at the beginning of 2024. No one knows exactly what was captured in it, so viewers can only guess what they are seeing. Many thought the footage showed a person kneeling. His posture expressed despair and submission to fate. Above him loomed a terrifying tall shadow, as if woven from darkness itself. Some viewers noted the figure's resemblance to descriptions of the Grim Reaper. Perhaps the footage captured the moment when the Reaper ends this person's life path. But that, of course, is only an assumption. A man was returning home late at night. The street was empty, but at one point, a mysterious creature appeared not far from the witness. It moved with a strange gait, as if every movement was difficult for it. But what frightened the man most was how unnaturally hunched the creature was. It seemed as if it had literally been folded in half. The witness clearly understood that he was seeing something anomalous, so he decided to record it on camera. After the video was published, people appeared who claimed that they had also seen this creature in different parts of the city, but no one could explain what it was. A man opened the window and looked outside to breathe some fresh air. At that moment, he saw something below that frightened him badly. On the sidewalk stood a creature that resembled an ordinary person, but it had one horrifying detail: a severely twisted neck. It was thrown all the way back so that the head reached the shoulder blades. At the same time, the creature calmly stood on two legs, as if this position caused it no discomfort at all. The man filmed the monster and published the video online the next day, hoping to get at least some explanation. But none of the viewers could convincingly explain what it was. Some suggested it was edited footage, while others believed the man had witnessed something that should not be seen by people. A woman who works as a store security guard encountered a frightening anomaly during her night shift. As usual, she sat by the monitors and watched over the store. At one point, on one of the screens, she noticed movement in the sales area. A human-like shadow slipped past the camera lens and disappeared behind the shelves. After that, the woman went to check what was happening. She carefully inspected the sales area, but found nothing strange. The guard does not know what it was, but that night, for the first time in her entire career, she felt truly frightened. A resident of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia heard noise in the next room. It seemed to him as if someone was walking through his house, but he knew for sure that he was alone at that moment and that no one from his family was supposed to return. Then the man went to check what was happening. As he approached the door, he suddenly saw someone's face looking out from the other side, positioned as if someone were hanging upside down above the doorway. For some reason, the homeowner seemed to turn to stone. He simply could not take a step forward. Only when the face suddenly disappeared was the man able to break free from his stupor. He rushed to search the house, looking into every room, but found nothing. The only proof of this story was the footage he had managed to record on his phone. The man believes that a jinn visited him that evening. This video was made in 2003 in Lima, Peru. The footage shows a woman calmly walking down the stairs in a hotel. Suddenly, a dark figure appears in front of her. The woman sharply jumps back and runs back up the stairs. It seems the worst is already over, but in fact, everything is only beginning. The person who published the video said that after this incident, the hotel guest disappeared. But then why did she leave all her personal belongings and documents in her room? The police conducted an investigation, questioned staff, checked recordings from other cameras, but never found any trace of the woman. This surveillance video from a street appeared online several years ago, yet it still has no rational explanation. The footage shows a dark figure standing in the middle of the road. In the next moment, a car drives along the road. Then, something impossible happens. Instead of hitting the pedestrian, the car seems to pass right through him. Interestingly, the driver probably noticed the figure. A couple of seconds later, he stopped the car and got out to look around and understand what had happened. But there was no one on the road. Many users suggested that it was a camera glitch, but in that case, a question arises. Why did the driver behave as if he feared he had hit a person? A man went for a walk before bed. He was calmly strolling in the silence when suddenly a terrifying creature appeared from the darkness. Its upper body was human, but instead of feet, it had hooves. It looked like some kind of hybrid of a goat and a human. The creature made very strange movements resembling a ritual dance. The witness was deeply frightened, but still decided to record what he saw on camera. He understood that no one would believe his story without proof. After the video was published, many viewers suggested that it might have been a satyr. But that version seemed impossible because satyrs are forest deities from ancient Greek mythology. A surveillance camera installed near a market stall captured a very strange incident. The footage shows a female seller finishing her work and getting ready to go home. At the same time, opposite her is the terrifying face of another woman resembling a mummy. It stares straight into the seller's eyes while remaining completely motionless. The most frightening thing about this scene is that the seller stayed calm and most likely did not see the creature. What this being was and why it appeared near the market stall remains a mystery. A lonely woman from France began posting a whole collection of videos on her social media page. With a camera, she recorded terrifying, anomalous phenomena occurring in her apartment. It all began with small things. Dolls on a shelf started falling by themselves, and then one of the toys suddenly turned on, although there were no batteries inside it. But one night, something truly horrible happened. She saw thick smoke in the corridor, even though there was no fire. The girl admitted that she was tired of everything that was happening. She was certain that an evil spirit had settled in her home. In the end, she decided to urgently put the house up for sale. A young man came to visit his grandmother and stayed there for several days. One night, he began noticing frightening things. First, he saw the silhouette of an unknown woman in the corridor. She stood completely motionless for several seconds, and then the silhouette dissolved into the air. Then the vacuum cleaner in the house began turning on by itself. It seemed as if someone was doing it deliberately. The final straw for the young man was an angel figurine that fell from the shelf by itself. All these anomalies led him to think that a ghost definitely lived in his grandmother's house. He told his grandmother about it, but she was not frightened and merely said that in old houses one can encounter anything, even ghosts. A woman named Cynthia called a team of paranormal experts after a disturbing incident. According to her, an invisible force pushed her down the stairs. The fall was severe and she was injured, but what frightened her most was the presence of the invisible force. When the specialists arrived at Cynthia's house, they asked the woman to stand near the stairs in the exact place where the incident had happened. She stood there for about an hour. All this time, the experts carefully monitored the instrument readings. At one point, the sensors recorded a sharp spike in the electromagnetic field, and on the thermal camera behind Cynthia's back, a strange spot appeared something resembling a ghostly silhouette. According to them, the invisible force was once again behind the woman's back, but because there were other people in the house, the entity did not take aggressive action. The anomaly was confirmed by the instruments, so the specialists recommended that Cynthia contact experts who cleanse homes of ghosts. A man left for a 24-hour business trip and, worried about his son, kept the surveillance camera on. Late in the evening, he decided to make sure the boy was all right and opened the live feed. On the screen, he saw his son calmly go to the kitchen to pour himself some water. Everything seemed normal, but suddenly a figure appeared on the left side of the frame. Its features resembled an adult man, but the silhouette was translucent. The son, noticing nothing, calmly walked back to the bedroom, while the mysterious figure silently dissolved into the air a few moments later. The man immediately called the boy to ask whether he had noticed anything strange. His son replied that everything was completely fine and that he had seen nothing unusual. Later, the man published the recording online. Viewers almost unanimously agreed that a ghost had visited the house, but what did it want? Did it intend to harm the child, protect him, or simply end up there by chance? These questions remained unanswered. For 2 weeks, a married couple heard strange sounds coming from under the stairs. Sometimes they were just rustling noises, and sometimes the couple even heard muffled voices. The homeowners looked under the stairs many times, but found nothing that could explain the sounds. Then they decided to install a surveillance camera. When they woke up in the morning, they immediately checked the recording. What they saw frightened them. When the sounds came from under the stairs again, someone's face appeared in the frame for a split second. It looked human, but terribly distorted. The couple immediately realized that they had encountered something paranormal. That same day, they decided to put the house up for sale and move somewhere else. An explorer of abandoned buildings went into an old structure late at night. It was not his first experience of this kind, and at first he felt calm, without fear. But suddenly, something flashed past from the side, a quick, barely perceptible silhouette. At first, the explorer thought he had imagined it, but a couple of seconds later, it happened again. Then he turned on his camera and began examining everything around him with a flashlight. When the man directed the beam of light into a small booth, he saw a human-like shadow at that very moment. It stood motionless, as if watching him. But in the very next instant, the figure mysteriously disappeared. After that, the explorer realized that he had to leave the place immediately and never return. A man decided to explore an unfamiliar road and drove along it by car. Soon he noticed an abandoned house and, without understanding why, felt an irresistible urge to go inside. When he entered the house, he saw a typical scene for an abandoned building. Old furniture covered with a thick layer of dust and complete silence. It seemed no one had been there for many years, but a few seconds later, the man noticed movement. A terrifying face appeared behind the glass of a door, staring straight at him. The man thought it might be a ghost, and it began to seem to him that the spirit had lured him into the house. The whole situation was so frightening that he rushed away. A team of investigators went to an abandoned building surrounded by frightening rumors. Locals said that a real ghost lived there. When they entered, they initially noticed nothing unusual. For more than an hour, everything was quiet, and the investigators had already begun to doubt whether the rumors were true. Just as they were about to leave, they suddenly saw something that truly frightened them. It was a dark figure with the outline of a man. It walked forward confidently, paying no attention to those present. The ghost moved so purposefully and naturally, as if it did not even suspect that it was no longer alive. It seemed like an ordinary person hurrying about his business. The investigators watched the spirit for several minutes until it disappeared into the darkness of the corridor. This encounter confirmed the rumors about the ghost, and locals began keeping away from the building. A hospital guard was monitoring the corridors through surveillance cameras. Everything was calm until, at one point, he noticed a mysterious figure in the frame. At first glance, it was a person, but the silhouette was very blurred and the movements were fast and abrupt. At first, the guard thought the camera might have malfunctioned, but he still decided to share the recording with hospital staff. The nurse who had been on duty that night was shocked by what she saw. In the blurred silhouette, she recognized a patient who had been brought to the hospital with severe injuries. Doctors had been unable to save his life. The nurse was certain that the footage showed the spirit of that man. Hospitals are among the places where ghosts are noticed most often. No one knows why this happens. Perhaps hospitals have a special energy that attracts the paranormal. A resident of Indonesia was returning home late at night along an empty road. Suddenly, a lone figure flashed ahead in the headlights. The man decided it was most likely an elderly woman who needed help. He slowed down and opened the window slightly to offer her a ride. The woman did not react for a long time, but when she finally turned around, the driver felt true horror. Her face was twisted into a terrifying grimace, and in her hands she tightly held a broken doll. The sight was frightening. Without thinking for even a second, the man sharply pressed the accelerator and drove away without looking back. A woman from Pennsylvania heard terrifying sounds coming from the basement of her house. She became frightened and was about to call the police, but decided first to check for herself what was happening. When she went down into the basement, she came face to face with a horrifying creature. It was a mystical being with a dog's head and a human-like body covered in thick black fur. Its eyes glowed in the darkness so brightly that it was impossible to look at them. The encounter filled the woman with genuine terror. She turned around and ran outside, then called the police. When the officers arrived, there was no one in the basement anymore. After the woman published her story and the short video she had managed to record, many viewers recognized the creature as the Dogman. Encounters with it have been reported all along the eastern coast of the United States, especially in the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The woman herself believes she was extremely lucky because the monster decided not to touch her. That is all for me. If you like this video, do not forget to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell. Your activity is the best reward for me. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Bye.